In this video, we're going to go through the playbook entry for integers and absolute value. Here you have a picture of what your playbook entry will look like when you cut all the pieces out and glue them in. Your title will be integers. You're going to make sure that you have the number line folded in half along 0. Your negative sign will be here. Your positive sign will be here. This positive or negative box, you need to make sure that you are gluing just the middle down because you need the flaps on either side to push up so that you can write the information underneath. Go ahead and cut out all the pieces at this time and glue them like you see here. And then make sure that you throw away your trash. Here's a close-up version of what it'll look like. Just make sure that you are numbering page 38. Title is integer. Negative numbers appear to the left of 0 on a number line. Positive numbers appear to the right of 0 on a number line. Here you have the 6 sections here. You made sure to only glue the positive or negative middle down so that you can lift up these sections. So here we're going to look at 4 numbers to the right of 2. You need to make sure that you're looking at your number line. Start at 2 and you're going to hop 4 times to the right and make sure that you are paying attention that you are going to the right. And when you do that, your answer should be a positive 6. What you're going to do is you're going to write a positive 6 underneath the flap. I can't do that in my video, but you can on your paper. Underneath where it says 8 numbers to the left of 6, you're going to start at 6 and you're going to hop 8 numbers to the left. When you do that, you get negative 2. 2 numbers to the right of 7, you start at negative 7, you hop 2 numbers to the right, and you end at negative 5. Remember, this all goes underneath your flaps. 3 numbers to the left of negative 1, you're going to start at negative 1 and you're going to hop 3 numbers to the left, and you get negative 4. 5 numbers to the right of negative 4, you're going to start at negative 4, hop 5 numbers to the right, and you get a positive 1. 6 numbers to the left of negative 2, you're going to start at negative 2 on the number line, and you're going to hop 6 times to the left. That gives you negative 8. Please make sure that you have your negative symbols in front of the numbers. Positive symbols don't always have to go in front of the numbers because it is assumed that if it has a number that's positive, it either has a plus sign in front or it doesn't have anything. But you have to identify your negative numbers with the negative symbol in front. Now we're going to move on to the absolute value playbook entry. This is what your absolute value playbook entry should look like when you cut and paste it in. Please make sure that when you cut this section here, you're only gluing where it says absolute value in the middle, and you're cutting along the solid black lines because you're going to fold these sections along the dotted line so that you can write underneath it. This section down here is the same. You're going to glue just the middle down where it says find the absolute value so that these sections here can be lifted up. You're going to take your number line and you're going to glue it completely down onto the side, and you're going to have your title at the top. This is page 39 of your composition notebook. At this time, go ahead and cut and paste like you see in your screen and pause the video. Please throw away your trash when you're done. Here's a closer view of what the definition, facts, examples, and non-examples would look like. Now, I cannot do that. I cannot lift my flaps up. You're going to have to, so I'm going to write over them, but what I need you guys to do is make sure that you're lifting these little 4 flaps and writing the information underneath. So here, the definition of what absolute value is the distance I'm going to go ahead and erase all of that and try it again. For absolute value, the definition is the distance a number is from 0, just please make sure that you're actually listing it out. I'm sorry, my screen is not working very well. Just make sure that you're actually putting the distance and number is from 0. That is the definition of absolute value. I don't know why it's not syncing very well. Just go ahead and make sure that you're putting that the definition of absolute value is the distance and number is from 0. When you're done, we're going to go to the facts. The facts use a vertical bar to show absolute value. Now, I don't know why it's not showing up on the screen. Just go ahead and make sure that you put they use a vertical bar to show absolute value and what that looks like. If you give me a moment here. The vertical bar looks like that. So you would have the 2 lines on either side of a number here. So just make sure that you write that the facts are using a vertical line or vertical bars to show absolute value. So again, the facts are to use a vertical bar to show absolute value. For examples, since it's not working on my iPad to sync up, I'm going to go ahead and write it on the screen here. My example would be these 2 vertical bars. If I had a -7, so my absolute value of -7 equals 7. Just remember that you're putting this underneath the flap and not on it. A non-example could just be -1.5, -8, or a 2. -1.5 is not an example because -1.5, you can't have fractions or decimals as integers, and it doesn't have the absolute value sign. -8 does not have the absolute value sign, and 2 does not have the absolute value sign. Remember, it uses the vertical bars to show absolute value. Go ahead and make sure that you have this filled out. If you need me to repeat anything that you did not catch on the video, rewind it, or raise your hand and I'll come over. Here you have the section down here. This is asking for the absolute value of 5, which is just 5. The absolute value of 0, which is just 0. The absolute value of -6 is just 6, because remember, absolute value is just the distance away a number is from 0. So if we had absolute value of 5, we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Went over a little bit. So it's 5 hops from +5 to 0. 0 is just 0 right there. If I went from -6, I would start right here and I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's why my -6 for absolute value is just 6. Now here I have 3 examples of some interesting ones. This negative is on the outside of the absolute value, so really all this is saying is what's the absolute value of 2, which is 2. But the negative is on the outside, so we just rewrite it because there's nothing going on with the negative. It's on the outside of the absolute value. Here we have negative absolute value of -3. So if I find the absolute value of -3, which is 3, and I have a negative here, I just put the negative back on because there's nothing happening on the outside to get rid of that negative. So it just attaches back to the absolute value of -3. Here, there's nothing on the outside of the vertical bars, so this is just saying what is the absolute value of -10, which is just 10. Go ahead and make sure you have all this information written down. If you have any questions or concerns, raise your hand or replay the video if you need to go back over it.